Because of the following special program, Mr. Merlin will not be presented this evening.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
If you like comic books, then you definitely like comic art. Visit comicartfans.com to see original comic artworks and custom drawings that people have collected and posted online. Coming soon, Comic Art Fans is hosting an in-person event called the Original Art Expo that will focus on the hobby of collecting original comic art. The Original Art Expo will be held at the Doubletree by Hilton Hotel in Orlando, Florida on January 26th through the 28th, 2024. They will have over 30 exhibitors and 60 comic artists. Spend the weekend in an intimate setting with some of the best creators in the world. Purchase or commission a piece of original comic art. Visit the Comic Art and Illustration Galleries. Attend the Saturday night auction and pizza party and hang out with your fellow comic art enthusiasts. The Original Art Expo is sure to be the world's premier visual storytelling art event, so don't miss out. Go to oa-expo.com to get your tickets today and visit comicartfans.com to see what comic art collecting is all about.
Hi, I'm Alex Ross.
The two pieces are sort of a type. They're both kind of recreations of artwork that existed in the 90s. In fact, this piece here for the Avengers is in most ways a recreation or a tribute to George Perez's poster version from the mid-90s, where he did a shot that featured in it a figure of Captain America that was very similar to what I've done here, positioning of the Vision or positioning of Hawkeye, and I believe a few other elements are very similar to that piece, and it's consciously so. I was building off that inspiration, but I kind of refitted my design to fill out bigger shots of the figures so that I was making a wider composition and getting in a lot of the same characters, but still not quite as many as what George himself did, because George's thing was always to try and get in the maximum amount of content into pieces that he did.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic conversation show. John Suntress here. Happy to welcome Jeff Parker.
Hello.
Good to see you, my man.
Yeah. It's great to be back.
What's that, man?
It's great to be back again.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's been so long, bud. Gabe,
I'm sure, but I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it's been a few months at least. Gabe and I have been talking about a new scene missing, so we'll talk about it maybe after we're done interviewing here.
As long as you don't talk about Skidoo again, I am there.
Sorry.
And if you do talk about Skidoo again, I am also there. So
I'll say again, sorry. I know. It hurt.
Someone had to take one for the team, and you did it, and I appreciate it,
So many of my favorite comedy podcasts have talked about how bad that movie is. I'm like, all right, we got it. We got to see it. Come on. And I'm happy and sorry that we did. But we are here. Well, there's one image.
There we go.
Variants. And I love this homage, but here's the main cover for issue
the Dan Mora cover. Yeah.
Batman, Santa Claus, Silent Night, a fantastic miniseries. And I'm so glad, Jeff, because of course it's a parody, but it's a good adventure story at the same time. Tell me,
it's no more a parody than anything else I write for DC. So it's just, I generally, people always think like, oh man, what a send up this is going to be. And then I always play it straight. It's like, I send up everything really. And then I play it straight at the same time. It's a tone thing. It's vibes. I don't know. I'm not as good. We haven't been doing the show in a while, so I'm not as good at talking about my process anymore.
Did they approach you and say, hey, we want a Santa story?
Yeah, Ben Abernathy approached me, and it's kind of the way a lot of this stuff goes. I think he and Marie Javins have been talking about doing some kind of Christmas event, and and then they're talking about, some different way to incorporate Santa in there. And they knew I would be into it, probably. He called me over and started talking about it. And I was like, oh, wait, I got this. Don't worry about that. I've got Santa opinions. Yeah. First, we've got to get Krampus in there.
Indeed.
And, and some things were floated by editorial that, they wouldn't have mind if I left them out, but, they suggested the idea that perhaps Batman met Santa back during his global travels and training himself. And I was like, of course, who's the ultimate at breaking into houses? It's, that guy, this giant Viking guy. And it made perfect sense to me. And then I started having fun thinking about how all the other characters would react once they realized they were essentially working with Santa on a mission. And then it's just the thing wrote itself, really. It was great.
I love that when he meets everybody face to face, his first words are, "Yeah, I know where you live." Oh, Dick Grayson, How you doing? 1514 Bloodhaven Drive. It's like, and they're all like, and I think, was it Batgirl? Like, you got my letter?
Yeah. Well,
stuff like that.
Because what he's specifically saying is their childhood address. He's not saying where they live now. He's saying whenever they wrote him, like he can't. It's some kind of, even though he tells the heroes, he's like, this holiday hasn't needed me to drive it for a long time. We get into and in the last issue. We talk a little bit more about what Santa actually does now on Christmas Eve. But and when he says that, but then you realize, like, if a kid ever wrote him a letter, he can't forget it. It's like, so you get to find out who wrote Santa a letter, and I'm not going to spoil any of those because those are good.
They're hilarious, man. No, absolutely. And people are reacting, obviously, that Krampus is the big bad, and he's got kind of Nosferatu vampire underlings.
It's a very Dan Mora kind of design. It's, because it is.
Did Dan design everything?
Mostly, yeah.
Wow. And yeah, man, I love stoic Viking Santa.
Yeah.
That, clear. Dude, and I don't want to know, but as I've been saying after reading the first issue, I'm like, if at some point Santa just doesn't give a roundhouse punch the way Sean Connery does in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I'm like, I'll be a little disappointed, because you do kind of want to see, just like kick some ass and everything. Look at these variant covers. I just adore these. Who painted this?
Oh, wait, this one is by crap. I was just looking at this. Who is this? Hey, somebody helpful, just write in, because
okay.
I know
these are all variants of the first issue.
Say something. It's like, I think that they were letting people run with it. Well, the nice thing is they realized once they had a Christmas event, now they also have a reason to have variant covers to tie into our Christmas event. So everybody could do something really cool and fun, Santa themed in their own books. And it doesn't really matter that Santa doesn't look the same across the board. It's like he's open to interpretation.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I love this. To me, it seems to be.
I feel like Tony Chastain went a little too saw with his. Like, come on, man.
It reminds me of Marvel Cinema Iron Man kind of thing.
There's going to be little cut up bodies in there or something. It's like sharpening his saw blade.
I like it. I like it a lot, man. And of course, a little cheesecake. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and we've got Zatanna in the book because I freaking love Zatanna, and I'll put her in anything I can that I can get away with. It just made sense. It worked really well for the first issue too.
Well, and this 4 issues, right?
Yeah.
And
in fact, I think in shops tomorrow is when the next one comes out.
Right, issue 2, absolutely.
And, my big note on Zatanna was like, okay, she's dressed like she normally is, but since it's winter, let's give her a big furry cape, and and then Michelle Bandini also added a little thing of fur over her boots, which I thought was a really nice touch. And I was like, yeah, this looks really sharp. Now she's got a whole other complimentary look for the season.
Yeah. So Michelle and Trevor Hairsine. I don't even know how to say his name properly. I'm sure I'm murdering it.
I always thought it was Hairsine, but I don't know.
Okay. Let's say
I
it
could be
is.
saying it wrong.
Great job on the art.
And Alex Sinclair is coloring.
Beautiful colors. I'm glad you mentioned Alex. Absolutely, man. No, this is great, and it's fun because it's a Batman thing, but really it's DC Universe. And it reminds me of those great stuff when we were kids. Those Treasury Edition collections of Christmas stories and stuff. I don't know. DC always had it as far as the Christmas tie-ins, as far as I was concerned, a little bit more so than Marvel. I can't remember memorable Marvel Christmas stories.
Yeah. It wasn't really their thing. Am I starting to already do the double voice deal again?
Not on my end.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like, do I have YouTube open somewhere? Where is it? There's a big thing of that Panera lemonade that kills people. Hold on, I'm just closing out Windows just to make sure.
As am I. If I caused that, I apologize.
Okay, so now I don't hear it.
Okay, well, I just closed the window, so maybe it was on my end. I apologize. If other people heard it, I apologize, everybody. But it wasn't.
It's always me. I always mess this thing up, and that's why I had to sit out a lot of kinescopes, and just drove me nuts.
Well, we were bummed, man, that when you couldn't join us.
But I got a newer computer, and that helps.
My camera crapped out and people know if they've watched one of the latest word balloons. Last week I was talking to Jeff Johns, and mid conversation the camera died, so I had to finish it on just my avatar and my microphone. But this is a much better camera now, so everything's fine. Everything's fine.
I should also say that we're going for a real shot by Conrad Hall sort of look for this book. I just wanted to get that in there because it took Gabe like an hour to finally mention Conrad Hall in your talk last week. I was like, what's going on here? Why is this? Do I even understand these men anymore?
I hope the people at DC Animation are considering animating your story, because it really would make a great Christmas DVD, and so many guest star appearances. And I'll leave it at that. You could tell with Zatanna showing up, and certainly the Bat family shows up. But yeah, I think this would be fantastic, and get Badass Santa as a guest star and everything. Why not? I think it'd be terrific.
Good. I am glad the whole. I didn't know. You never know when you mess with mythology how much it's going to work for people, but I've been seeing great reviews. People seem to really be into it. So like, good. Thanks for letting me tinker with your childhood again.
It's like you said, man. No, I guess it is a typical Jeff Parker DC universe and adjacent universes. I mean, I suppose this pairs well with Future Quest and some of the other DC
probably
stuff.
More, yeah, it probably fits in with the way we did. Evan and I did Future Quest and things like that. And it gets back to it's been a while since I've gotten to do Batman more of the detective way I tend to think of him. I mean, because I did 66 for so long, and I love 66, but really my the take I naturally gravitate to is the one Hardman and I did this Gotham Spirit story a few years ago, and it was one where Batman doesn't talk at all, and he's not the point of view character. I love stuff like that where the heroes are not seen. We're not right with them the whole time, and it's seen from the bad guys or somebody else's POV.
It reminds me too, although again a different tone, what Mike Barr did with Detective 400, when all these other detectives who were in Detective Comics show up, and then finally the biggest guest star is 100-plus-year-old Sherlock Holmes, right? And this is when Batman still smiled on panel, and the whole anytime Holmes is talking, Batman has just got this like fantastic smile on his face. And at one point, Holmes has the pipe, and Batman goes to let. He's like, "Oh no, son, it's okay. It's just for show." I haven't smoked in, decades. But it's just like, yeah, man, that's great. And I love the contrast of your story where Batman's just like, yeah, it's Santa. Yeah, we know each other.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very Joe Friday about his relationship to Santa. Yeah, we're colleagues. We know, and like you said, good detective work, not only from Bruce but also Damian.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Damien is super important to the story because one, he's the only kid, so he's really got to be a focal point somewhere in there. It turns up more layered, but I just thought, no, and this is a great chance to do something with a kid who's had a weird background like him. And like, how does he react to Santa, and what's their, how do they interact? And so far, at the beginning of the story, Santa's pretty rude to Damien. He's practically knocking him out of the way as he's walking around. It's like, and you see Damien even pout a little bit, like, well, he doesn't seem to like kids,
Very funny. Absolutely. No, and even the side conversations between Dick and Barbara and the like. Good stuff, man. No, this is a fun one.
In Batman's mind, he was like, I told you about this, Dick, and Dick's like, I thought he was just making all that up, just to make Santa sound cool.
That's the thing, man. No, it is little moments like that dip into the character's past and everything. But no, it's an enjoyable story. I'm glad it's coming out weekly. It's kind of a nice little special event.
This is a cool way. It's a cool way to do an event. I feel like, it's like, one, I love it. You can't sustain it for long, but I love the whole weekly comic thing. Is like having a show.
Yes.
And yeah. And, of course we had to do it. Like I had to get in the Christmas spirit back in April or whenever, or March, to go ahead and write the story and get everybody working way, way, way ahead of time, because not only does it have to all come out in the month of December, but the printer for DC and Marvel, they have a very early cutoff. And you often hear artists in pain about this at the end of the year because they find out they've got a lot less time to draw a book than they normally would have, because often people will forget to say, oh yeah, we got to get everything into the printer by the first week of November or whatever. And so, we tried to get way ahead on that. It was a heroic feat by editorial, like managing stuff, because I tried to be cool about it, but there were sometimes I had notes and I was like, guys, we've got to fix this scene because blah, blah, blah. And, and I don't like to do that. I don't do it arbitrarily. I only do it if it's very important to the story.
Understood. Krampus, obviously, the big bad in the story, and looking very scary.
Yeah.
I think, appropriately so. And yeah, I'll admit I hadn't known much about Krampus before the movies of late that kind of exploit him and stuff. But no, this is really a good lesson about Viking lore, and Zatanna provides us with that backstory in issue 1.
Krampus has really made a comeback in the past couple of decades or so, everybody's like, wait, Santa used to hang out with this wild beast man with horns and we're not talking about it? Come on now. And and you can see how obviously a devil looking guy would get really downplayed once it became a Christian holiday, or it got co-opted. But the thing is, originally a solstice holiday. It's
sure. Yes.
It's about the bleakest time of year when things start turning around, the sun starts coming out again, and that's the whole feeling of hope. And we don't go too much into that. We leave it a little open so everybody can interpret still the way they like it. I'm not telling people how to do their holidays at all.
Sure.
But I am thinking I did tie it more heavily into the Norse stuff because it just, I don't know, it just felt right. It felt like, Santa's kind of like Thor. It's like he
100%.
fits in there.
Yeah, or Odin, Battle Odin, basically. I absolutely agree. And it's again, I mean, I like Sweet Santa too. I like him showing up on a corner and is he real? But this is DC is about action adventure, so it's
It's a
appropriate.
DC comic, and I saw somebody saying, "Oh no, not a grim dark thing." It's like it's not grim. I mean,
No.
yes, Santa is more of a heavy than usually see him, but it's not depressing. It's at all. It's just they kill some vampires with antlers. I mean, that's what I wanted.
Absolutely, man. It's Donner, right? That he's riding.
Prancer.
It's Prancer. Pardon me.
I don't know why. I just thought it would be more entertaining for Prancer. Also, Donner also just suggests kind of cannibal vibes to me. So I was just like,
oh, that's hilarious. The Donner Party. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, everybody. You ruined Christmas. Exactly. Are we, without spoiling, because I'm a little...
And Vixen is a character, so no.
Right. Well, that would have been fun to see Vixen and Vixen.
Yeah.
But like, which of us came first?
Am I named after this?
Exactly.
This caribou? Yeah.
Will we see any of the other reindeer without spoiling?
Yeah.
Good to hear. Very good.
You don't necessarily get them called out by name. Well, a little bit, actually, now that I think about it. But, it's like, you see all your faves. Maybe not Rudolph, but,
Well, and again, this really, again, because I've read ahead, everyone's in for a treat because really a lot of DC Universe heroes will show up and have a moment in this story. So no, it's gonna make a great graphic novel, Jeff.
We kind of suckered everybody into thinking it's purely a Batman family story, but by next issue, it expands right away, and everybody, I feel like they start coming in very naturally, like who would next come into the story, and so I won't spoil it, but if you like a hero, they're probably in this story.
Yeah, this is great. No, absolutely, man. And also, I love the little note that in this first cover that Superman is reading from a 40s. Is that, I'm assuming, World's Finest kind of, or maybe it's a Batman tie-in. I don't know.
I think it's Batman's the first appearance of Santa in Detective Comics, or National Comics at the time. So that was a sharp callback by Dan.
That's outstanding, man. So what else? Like, do you have other things that are currently out or about to come out?
I am also at Dynamite. I am working on the Negaduck series. If anyone out there used to watch Darkwing Duck in the 90s, you may remember he had a supervillain who was the evil opposite of him called Negaduck. And for some reason, they thought Negaduck deserves his own book. So I was like, all right, let's do that. And it's a lot of fun. And that was neat because I got the books, like some of the books, just in time when I was at the Rose City show in Portland. And I'd see people kind of going along, and they kind of politely look at your table, and then they'd see Negaduck, like, whoa, and grab, and it's like, oh, okay, these are going to go over pretty well. Like I've kind of forgot how much people love that cartoon,
Well, in the 90s nostalgia right now, that's the sweet spot.
It is a sweet spot. My other former collaborators, Declan Shalvey and Drew Moss, are working on Thundercats. Which is really more 80s, but like some stuff like that actually it's kind of surprising they haven't been in comics that much. It's like, oh, well, good on Dynamite for seeing a thing and going for it.
Sure.
I like it because then at Halloween all the time, I like to give out candy and comics. So I need some kid-friendly comics, This, maybe I'll be able to give this out. It's good. They do murder the hell out of some carolers at the beginning of the story. And it's rated teen plus, so I'm not quite sure. You never know. It's like, this could come back and bite me. I'm not sure.
I understand. I absolutely. Regarding Negaduck, have you talked to Tad Stones about it at all? Have you met Tad Stones?
I've not met him in person. We talk online some. And he had tagged me on Blue Sky and said, where, by the way, I'm Jeff Parker, just like I used to be on Twitter. And I was like, oh, it's like, well, I'll send them to you. He goes, oh, no, don't worry. I'll get them on the Kindle. And like, because like, so he went and ordered all the things, or Bug Dynamite or whatever, to send them over so that he could read them on his Kindle. And
Sure.
I understand there's only so much space in one's house.
Good Lord, I'm the same way, man. I'm 90% digital these days. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I didn't succeed in getting Tad's address so that I could just send him junk all the time. But yeah. But then again, I never heard from him after that, so maybe he didn't like it. I don't know. Now I got to wait and find out. I'm like, Tad, did you? You never said if you liked the book.
I miss going to San Diego so I could see him face to face.
Yeah,
he much like yourself, like a year after we established contact. Now we established contact Word Balloon year 1, 2005. Yeah. I was talking to Jeff, and Tad was doing the Hellboy animated shorts.
Right.
That were coming out, and he contacted me, which blew my mind. Mm-hmm. But he was an early podcast adopter, so he got in, and we've been friends ever since. And tremendous guy, great guy. Yeah, mm-hmm. I was so happy. He has a brief cameo in that Chip and Dale movie with with Mulvaney and
Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg, right? It wasn't Pete. What's his name? Yeah, Andy Samberg. He's on the phone, and he's a voice on the phone. Yeah, and I was so happy for him.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah. So,
that was kind of bizarre. I still haven't seen that, but it was kind of a bizarre premise to have like one of them computer animated and one 2D. But so I want to see that.
It's pretty good. It has that Roger Rabbit sort of vibe to it, of different animation as they're exploring the mystery that they're exploring. And it's good. And especially, I don't know about you, but I grade more understandably for streamers versus a theatrical release. And I'm like, no, I remember when Kimmel had them both on, Mulvaney mm-hmm. and Sandberg. Yeah. And I know I have to keep thinking. And I'm like, and the whole thing was really a commercial for the movie. And I'm like, I don't know. But then Franco told me, he's like, no, it's actually funny. And I'm like, all right. And I watched it. It's good.
Yeah, I like the way you can remember the guy from Chicago easily. No problem. Chicago
Mulvaney, guy. Absolutely. You're right. That's
one
true.
Of your boys.
I am always rooting for Mulvaney. I love his stand-up. I love his Mulvaney. Who's Mulvaney? It is John.
Actually, there's a Nick Mulvaney, but it's John Mulaney.
He's great.
He's great. I love the fact that he gets confused for Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash on CW.
I can see that.
Yeah, someone brought that up in an interview, and he said, like, thanks for confusing me with this young, good-looking guy who does this thing, or what?
Yeah. And I'm glad he's recovering and everything. And I root for him.
I guess,
brilliant.
I don't want to cast aspersions, but it's like every time I think I hear whatever someone's story is, and then later it's like, boom, it goes wilder. And he had a good appearance on what's his name show, other Saturday
Colbert?
Night Live, huh?
Oh, I was going to say Colbert, but must be Fallon.
No.
Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers.
Wait, I'll get it in a second. The one who hooks up with everybody.
The one that hooks up with everybody.
The rings under his eyes. His dad died in 9/11.
That's Pete Davidson.
Yeah, Pete.
I don't know. Pete Davidson has a podcast or whatever.
No, it's not a podcast. It was a short show that's really roughly based on his life. And John Mulaney turns up in an episode. Joe Pesci's in it a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like they got some big people. Edie Falco plays his mom. It's great. It was like, I really enjoyed it.
Is it on Peacock? It must be on Peacock.
That maybe, probably.
I bet it is.
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember let's see, what's on Peacock? Craig Robinson's show where they, kill pythons and Killing It, stuff like that.
Okay,
the dark NBC shows. The heavy NBC.
I dropped a Peacock You know, like when they, because I used to get it through Xfinity cable, and then they changed the deal, and it's like, well, no. I mean, I think the least you can do is give me Peacock. So I was kind of bummed. So I haven't renewed it, and now I'm kicking myself, and I'm going to wait till Galactica gets rebooted because I know that's in process, and I'm such a fan. I have to watch.
Then you can catch up on everything all at once.
Right. Yeah, because I even blew off Poker Face like an idiot, and especially being the big Columbo fan that I am, I know.
It's so good. God, that was one of the best shows of recent years. I love it.
I'll get to it. I promise I'll get to it. But I had too many streamers. And the other one that I dropped, and I'm a big British television fan, and I keep discovering shows left and right. But I dropped BritBox like a year ago, and now that Cary Grant miniseries, and of all, Jason Isaacs, the last guy I would think to cast as Cary Grant. And I saw that CBS Sunday Morning interview segment he did in makeup and hair, and it's like, holy fuck. I mean, that's a tough look to pull off.
Yeah.
And god damn it, man. I mean, it's his eyes are a little different. You can't fix the eyes, everybody. But when
I was walking by, I was walking the dog at night the other night, and because it gets night very early right now, and and I was going by someone's house, and they were watching that show, and I was just like, "Whoa, Cary Grant!" Across the street, and then I was like, "Wait, he looks slightly different, but it's Cary Grant." And I was like, and then I realized later it was that show they were watching BritBox, and I was like, I need to see that.
Oh man, it looks so good. And I guess Diane Cannon, his last ever, as old Hollywood fans know, his last wife. She and their daughter produced it, and I think it's a warts and all thing. Because man, poor Cary Grant. I mean, he was really sucked into that psychoanalysis period where, hey, let's give our patients LSD. What could go wrong? And it's like, yeah.
It was the 50s. That was the big thing. Like, just try it. He seemed pretty into it for a bit.
He was very into it, and even kind of forced Diane Cannon to try it. And she had a bad trip. So, it's just crazy shit, man. Come on, darling. It's only LSD. I think let's watch The Wizard of Oz and put Dark Side of the Moon on and see if they sync up.
At this precise moment.
Look, the lunatic is in the grass. That's supposed to be Ray Bolger. Of course it does. Actually, as we're talking.
I used to walk into parties when people were doing that, and I'd like,
yeah,
someone's doing this again.
The movie, and shame on me because people might tune away. The movie's on tonight on one of the Turners. I think on either TNT or TBS.
Oh, really?
But still a classic, man. All right, new movies. I gotta be honest. I hope everybody that wants to see and is seeing Wonka is enjoying it. But man, I don't know. And I mean, I felt this way well before they tried with Johnny Depp playing Wonka. It's like, listen, Gene Wilder, man, there are, as you know, Jeff, there are roles that are vehicles for stars.
Yeah.
And Wonka was the original Willy Wonka movie is so Gene Wilder in the best ways. And I don't see anybody else, even though they put him in the appropriate cosplay outfit and stuff. I'm just like, I have no interest unless people tell me it's amazing.
Yeah, you can put a velvet coat on him all you want. Like, he's not Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder was funny. I mean, the man was just funny. It's like he was writing a lot of the stuff that Mel Brooks did that we like so much.
Young Frankenstein was his idea. Yes,
I don't believe Depp or I
don't even know the name of the
kid.
Don't even know his name.
Sorry, get it. I'll get it in a minute.
No problem.
Just blank.
And again, that's where the chat comes in if we can't think of it. But
come on, chat. I mean, back then you do still get people who write and perform now. You forget Bill Hader or somebody like that, or whatever. Actually, Hader would have been a better Wonka than the kid. Timothy Chalamet. Good God, in fairness to me, Chalamet just rolls right out of my head. I can't hold that name in.
I totally understand.
Just
By
jealous.
the way, Drew Moss watching, and I want to acknowledge that.
Hey, thanks, Drew. You're gonna like this. This has got a lot of very Drew things in it. I think you'll enjoy.
But yeah,
I like
man,
when I can specially narrowcast it to people calling in.
no, I love when creators are or people in comics are watching Word Balloon live. I find that to be a very high compliment.
Well, and you always have this Larry King background, so I can do the thing like Ocala, Florida. You know, somebody was always calling in from Ocala. I don't know what it is about that place.
King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Hello.
Yeah.
You're on the line with Don Rickles.
I was watching I got sucked into watching an old guest host session of Don Rickles. I think it was somebody was putting it on because Lee Marvin was being such a pain in the butt as a guest. And of course, Rickles is just having a blast with it. And Ali's on there right now. He had just talked before him. And then Lee Marvin just goes into talking about Muhammad Ali for a while. Of course, why not? He's the greatest, you know, and Rickles just sitting there just like, really? Like, you know, we're on TV. I was just like, don't feel you have to do anything. It's like you forget how good Rickles was, though, like when he actually got put into the host role and wasn't just supposed to be zinging people. Like he was like you. He could remember facts and weird connections and everything. And like he could just bring it up really fast. He was great at it. And arguably better than Johnny, really, when he like was turned loose in that role. You know, he may not have been able to sustain it the way Carson could. You know?
That's the difference. That's what everyone, and again, forgive me, everybody, for
you can suck it up for a week, but it's hard to do it in and out like that. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's what I would tell people about radio, because they're like, so all you do is talk about sports for 4 hours? Yeah, try and do that 5 days a week. Try and do that in February.
Try to fill 15 minutes. See?
Yeah. Well, but even like February and July,
when there's nothing
of sports, where it's too far away from playoffs or March Madness or whatever. Yeah. And you gotta vamp. You gotta figure out something clever to say for the next 5 days and the next month. And it's tough. No, that's the tough part. I saw an old Tonight Show where Rickles was hosting and Charo was the guest.
No.
And at one point,
that one just goes on it. So that's a perpetual motion machine at that point.
Well, she's in some sort of tube top, and this is Charo in her prime. This is like early 70s Charo. And at one point, she takes.
I remember very well. Yeah.
Well, and they're gonna wrestle or something. They're on the main stage, and Rickles, and forgive me already, I'm saying this, not Jeff, but Rickles just goes, "My wife is a guy." And it's like looking at Charo's body, and he's just like, that was his comment. It was fantastic, and again, terrible, but I'm laughing.
Also, in that thing where like you would think it would be like a one note thing where like, oh, Charo's just going to come out and be hot, dance around, and then she'd go play flamenco guitar and be a freaking master at it,
virtuoso,
and you're just watching her go to town, and like, what the hell, like. If you could only do one of these things, you're doing great. It's like, no, you had to be good at everything.
Well, and that's what I was going to say about Wilder earlier, and Rickles too.
Wilder was good at everything.
When he sings Imagination, nowadays I almost cry because it's such a sweet. And I'm the first person that makes fun of over sentimental stories or ideas. But that said, when he sings that song, he's not the best singer, but it's just perfect for him. It's this beautiful, earnest performance.
And of course now they could mix it to death and make it sound, you know, like he could do more than he could. So that he sounded that good at all was pretty impressive.
Agreed.
And you know, everybody always brings up the way he establishes the whole bit of the character by doing the walkout. And everybody thinks he's the feeble old man, and then he loses his cane in the cobblestone and starts to fall forward, and then does that flip.
Yep.
And with the reasoning that's like, from this point on, no one will know whether to believe me or not. And it's like, that's brilliant. It's like, and you know, like they had the good sense to go with it and like, let him just steer because he knows what he's doing here. Because he's partly menacing at several points.
Yes, of course. God, at the end, you get nothing.
When they go back to
the
good day.
Very mean. Very mean. No, he's
Pilfered fizzy lifting drink.
Yep. That's fantastic. And Jack Albertson, of course. The grandparents in bed together, all four of them, that's the only part that creeps me out. And the whole time I'm like, all right, I know they're in a lousy apartment. God damn it, I hope they have running water.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Please bathe frequently.
Yeah. And then when Grandpa Joe gets up, like Jack Albertson's like, what? You're like, he can walk? Like, according to them, that's the only place I would cut. Like they do. Charlie's mom has a song.
Yes. Cheer up, Charlie. Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like it just goes on a bit too long there. And it's like, It's like, but also, I don't have probably the attention span we all had back then of being able to yes, things must take time.
Well, I wonder when they put that movie in a commercial 2-hour thing for anyone who's left still watching cable. I would cut that. I would cut Mom's song. Absolutely. Yeah. We don't need that. We don't need that.
So this thing's but the Chalamet thing's gonna be a prequel, right? It's
yes, it is. It is. It's out. I guess it had its. I think it had its first weekend.
Oh,
so yeah.
I didn't know.
Wonka.
I'm still wanting to go see Godzilla -1, and I haven't gotten out to the theater yet.
I certainly was gonna ask. I haven't either. I got to be honest. The price of a movie ticket is insane. Yeah. And I have to admit, because friends also say, well, join a movie club. And I'm like, yeah, but when I go to the movie that I want to see and I look at what else is playing on the marquee, I don't want to see anything else. And it's not like there wouldn't be a value to joining the movie club. I'd only be seeing one movie a month. So I don't think, no, sorry. I don't. And again, this has been this was a problem before COVID. And now post COVID, it's even more so.
It's a streaming problem. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, guys, you got to either hold one out for a long time, like they used to do. It's like let it have a real movie run before it goes. Now everybody knows. It's like oh, if it doesn't make this, it's like what was that movie where everybody in the little New England town knew way too much about how movies were made? The Mammoth thing.
State and Maine. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like in State and Maine, where like everybody.
They're all
well, if they don't hit this number by weekend 2, then we'll be able to see it.
I like that movie. That's a great movie.
It was a good
and that's the kind of movie that, and I mean, it was a little movie when it came out, the Mammoth movie, and that's the kind of movie that I probably wouldn't get a theatrical. Really sort of very limited. But yeah, man, no, you're right. Again, sorry, everybody. We're two old men, yelling at clouds from our porch.
Yeah,
but there was something.
You got to see these clouds. I mean, they need it. They deserve it.
Well, and again, we saw them because we paid attention for more than 4 weeks, and then they're out of the theaters. I mean, The Marvels is a classic example. My God, it's barely a month, and it's like gone. See ya.
I was thinking about going out to the theater, and by the time, I don't know, I had stuff to do, and then by the time I turn around, it's gone. So I'm trying to think, what was it? There was something else that came out and was starting to do great and then got jerked out of theaters way too fast. I know that probably applies to a ton of stuff now. But it's hard not to feel like they're doing it simply because, well, good. This way we'll still support our streaming audience, and we won't have to pay all of these residuals to the actors by getting it out of the theater. And that's exactly what they're doing in a lot of cases.
I didn't realize until I read the headline today. I suppose I'm hearing that maybe Brie Larson is kind of attacking Disney for pulling it so early.
Oh, good. I hope she just goes in on them, because it's like, sorry, that's a selling point that they make in their contracts, and then they don't have any intention of really keeping it in that long because they want. Yeah. But Marvel's been killing themselves with Disney Plus rather is killing Disney. I mean, I guess it's great if you want to watch everything on TV. And again, if you want to watch those Darkwing Ducks I was talking about, it's on Disney Plus.
There you go.
And a lot of good stuff is on there, but
yeah,
I don't know how they expect theatrical to keep hanging in for dear life when they are undercutting it themselves. But I'm not a
100%,
business guy. I don't. Who am I?
Well, my buddy Mark, or no, excuse me, my buddy Rob Burnett goes to what used to be, I think it's called Cinecon now, and it used to be called Show West. And essentially, it is an industry convention for theater owners, and it's all the studios. This is what we got. This is what's coming.
Mhm.
And certainly in the last couple of years, to fight the streaming impact, Nicole Kidman, and I mean, it started with the theater owners, but then it even went to the be part of the preview package of, oh no, come back to the theaters, please, we miss you. And it's like, yeah, but my couch is comfortable, and you made a 3-hour movie, and I can hit pause and run to the bathroom if I need to.
Well,
The
funny thing with that commercial is you look there, there's no one sitting around Nicole Kidman. You're like, wow, Nicole's the only person in this theater.
mentioning streaming.
Then you
Go ahead.
find somebody to go with her, and she's super famous.
Not even Keith, her husband. I can't think of his name now.
Keith Urban. Maybe?
Keith Urban, of course, Keith Urban. Yeah.
Yeah, finally, I remember a name. This is
Please.
Yeah.
This is the short-term memory podcast. No, both of us are.
It makes you wonder because, like here in Portland, the way some theater chains have chosen to fight back, we have like the bedroom theaters. We have these like specialized screening rooms. And like I went to one the other night to watch to watch a 30-year-old rock video to watch Stop Making Sense. It's like I was laying back on this big couch with a big pillow and everything, and I had a beer, and they were making it like, this is like your home experience, actually nicer than your actual home. And you're watching a giant screen, and you still have a little bit of audience reaction with people you don't know. And then it's like the rooms aren't as big as, a whatever plex that you would go to, but they're plenty big for what you're doing and didn't cost any more. So it's like, yeah, this is a good solution. I hope it catches on in more places. I know, people like the Alamo Draft House or whatever.
Certainly.
Something where the seats vibrate and William Castle style or some stuff like that.
Jeff, I saw, and word balloon people might be sick of me talking about this, but when I went to see The Flash, I missed the showtime that I wanted to see, which would have been standard def. And they're like, well, we've got a showing in 10 minutes on 40X.
Oh,
do you want to do that? And I had no idea what 40X was. And then I found out.
I've not seen one. It's
a carnival ride. It literally is your seat is on a piston. You are pitched forward. You're pitched backward. My wallet flew out of my pants pocket and was 4 feet away from my seat. And my phone slipped out of my other pocket. And I'm like, all right, I haven't moved. It's got to be somewhere. I'll wait till the lights come on at the end of the movie. But I am a little uncomfortable knowing my cell phone is not in my pocket.
I'm sure people come staggering back in. I can't get in my car. Where's my keys? And, constantly handing all your stuff back.
A lot of families brought their kids, and I'm sure the kids loved it. And it was the Flash. So anytime somebody was shot, you got compressed air and water shot in your face. It was insane. It was insane.
I remember from the Indiana Jones great movie, not the great movie ride, the one that you get at Disney now.
Yes.
The compressed air things that they do when arrows are flying or whatever, that works really well because you feel it. It doesn't hurt. No one's going to sue you or anything, but it is a neat thing. Like, God, William Castle would have lost his mind of being able to make a movie in one of those and show it in one of those places.
That's hilarious. I got to
crank the electricity up so hard.
I interviewed his daughter years ago, but the recording didn't work, so I don't have it, unfortunately.
Oh, God,
I know, and I couldn't get her back, and it's like that. And my other great regret, and people can appreciate, especially during the holiday season. I spoke to the TV producer Steve Binder, who, on the one hand, made the '68 Elvis comeback special and a million variety shows during the TV era, but also did the Star Wars holiday special.
Wow.
And we had the greatest talk, and unfortunately, the recording didn't keep, and I couldn't get him back. And I'm like, okay.
That hurts. They were just, was it NPR was just doing a thing with the Pop Culture Happy Hour talking about the Star Wars Christmas special. And they brought up things, because I've watched a little bit of it again online and stuff. And it's like, I always remember the things that always stick with me are B. Arthur's number where she's working in the cantina.
Yep.
And the one where Art Carney comes in and actually does
some Norton business.
Yeah, he totally does Ed Norton. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's genuinely funny. And then you actually hear a stormtrooper going, "Well, you get on with it." And but they talk about other parts that I had completely forgotten. It's like, because it's actually a really long show.
Yeah. I think it was a 2-hour show.
Yeah, they do some weird stuff in it. Like, because again, it was made by people who do like Bender, who do variety shows.
Right.
So
Bruce Valanche, the wonderful comedy writer. I heard him on a podcast talking about it.
Mr. Hollywood Squares.
Absolutely, man. Do something with that hair, Bruce. But other than that, God bless you. You're a brilliant man.
Yeah.
And no, funny stories about that B. Arthur song was written to sound like Three Penny Opera. That kind of style of music.
Yeah, it's kind of the Send in the Clowns sort of sounding thing, if I remember. Yeah, right. It's like, what is this dramatic number B is doing? Or whatever, like, why is she kicking aliens out of the thing?
Yeah, it's you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Basically, is the theme of the song. But no, all that stuff, and then the various creatures that show up in the special that didn't show up in the first movie,
right?
That they made but didn't use, and then they still had them around. No, it's a great story, and Binder was fantastic. And again, it's like, well, at least I had the conversation with Steve Binder. I'm sorry, Word Balloon. I really wanted it for all of us, but
did you guys talk about the comeback special?
Oh, 100%. Had to. The whole thing, because even
this.
Thankfully, YouTube exists, and also they still syndicate Ed Sullivan's show. But I really wanted to know about music performance on these variety shows, and they would do whatever tricks cameras could do back then, right. Superimposing a bigger version of the singer and, that kind of thing, or mirror images and kaleidoscope effects and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I really want to hear about that. But the comeback special, absolutely. And how that stripped down when Elvis is in the in the black leather suit and he's just surrounded by kids. And it's him and his original Sun Records guys like Scotty Moore, just stripped down singing some of the classic 50s stuff. And it's like, oh my God. Because, as you and I know, and listen, I love a lot of the Elvis movies. They're cheeseball movies. And it was so great at that moment for Elvis to kind of reclaim and go, no, guess what? I was the original rock and roll badass. Yeah. And it's like, sorry, we did all forget. So, it's and don't get me wrong, Elvis has a lot of warts and all in his world. That Austin, I can't think of his last name now. The guy who played Elvis in the last movie.
Oh yeah, and I was going to say the Baz Luhrmann movie got that bit really well. Like they recreated that set really nicely, and him sitting there, it was like it felt like what I had watched, years ago, because my mom was a big super Elvis freak. And so like I was constantly hearing all the albums. If there was anything to watch, I had to watch it, and everything. So as a kid, I was kind of snotty about it and like, I'm sick of Elvis. And then of course, years later, it's like, I'll turn up any Elvis song that comes on because like I know it,
Yeah. I'm like that with Nat King Cole. My dad adored Nat King Cole. And I remember we dropped off my sister at college and had a 2-hour ride back. And whatever radio station we were listening to is like, all right, and we're about to start our Nat King Cole retrospective. And Dad was great letting me play the radio, but he just looked at me with this, No, he's like, can we please listen to this? Like, that's the thing. My dad is like, can we please listen to this? And I was like 12, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, it's cool. I'm like, of course. I'm like, and I really, now it's, I mean, I love Nat King Cole, and immediately my thoughts go to my father. It's terrific.
What a sweet man to sit there and actually ask his son. My dad would have told me we're listening to Nat King Cole. That's just the way it would have gone. Your dad actually asked you, and that's great.
He was amazing to me, and when I could make him laugh, it was the greatest feeling in the world.
Nice.
So yeah, he was terrific. He was
and
great.
not just like Nat King Cole was amazing.
Yes, it was an education,
and so was Nat. You know, it was like, but I always feel obliged if we get on the subject of the Cole family to bring up Natalie's really horrible act of dubbing herself into her dad's song.
Yeah.
And Drew Friedman's incredibly tasteless comic that just roasted it.
I forgot that. That's right. I remember Ellen Cleghorn.
People who haven't seen it, Drew Friedman is Drew Friedman. If you don't know who he is, I'm not going to explain it. But he's the cartoonist who puts dots on everybody. And
Stipple.
He's this cartoon ran in one of the trade magazines. I'm forgetting which one, but anyway, like it's like a recording session with her and her dad, which of course was posthumous. So she's singing it, and she's saying, "Watch it, Pop! You're stepping on my lines." And then over at the side, there's a skull with Nat King Cole hair on it. And maybe headphones. I can't remember if there were actually headphones in front of the thing. And it's like, oh my God, they lost so many advertisers because of that cartoon.
I remember Ellen Cleghorn doing on SNL a parody of it. And it was kind of just like how Sinatra did duets and then did duets too. And that it was going to be a second album of a bunch of different dead celebrities. And it was very, very funny. I'm sure you could find that on YouTube. And that's, thank you, YouTube. Dude, I don't know about you, but I am. Well, you even mentioned it before. I'm constantly finding myself in YouTube rabbit holes and watching. And I really get excited. They have, I found several Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass variety, not really variety specials because it wasn't an audience. It was like a travelogue with them. And they were early, like late 60s ABC specials.
Yeah, and they're like the early music videos. You see this sometimes and you think, well, this is what later you just call a music video.
Exactly. Yep.
And they would be calling something like that, like a travelogue or something with the Tijuana Brass. And I'm like,
hey, we're in New Orleans and whatever. You know, it's like, all right. SCTV would parody these specials in comedy sketches and stuff like with the Schmengies or whomever. And it's like this is what they're making fun of. Absolutely.
And maybe if we're lucky, Brazil 66 will drop by or something or whatever, and they show a whole show and and probably me as a kid, I'm like, where's that lady with the whipped cream all over? Isn't she supposed to be here? She's the reason I stare at that album all the time.
It delights. Absolutely, man. Oh yeah. That's awesome.
And then later, when you look at it as a grown-up, you go, "Oh, she's wearing a blanket for most of it." Like, oh, it's like,
it's funny. Before we started, I was watching a bit of a new documentary that's on MGM's cable channel, and it's all about the San Francisco bands of the '60s and how they broke out, and it's really good. And it reminds me of the one they did on Laurel Canyon. I think either MGM or Stars did that recently, and I'm a sucker for rock documentaries. Hey, all right, there we go. Lieber's watching the Schmengies. Absolutely, I found an SCTV sketch, and if you guys want, I'll send it to you. And it was how the Lutonians, the nationality of the Schmengies, how they celebrate Christmas, and one of the things is the men at one point exchange socks. It's a Lutonian tradition. And it's like, of course it is. Fantastic.
That was the banner years of SCTV too. Like my personal favorite all show skit was the whole Ocean's 11 takeoff.
Yes.
It's so funny. It's so good.
They're stealing money from Danny Thomas's coat.
Yeah,
because he keeps rolls of cash and stuff in his coat. But yeah, it's Ocean's 11, classic.
And it's such a thing that they would do that probably was not even popular at the time. It probably was at its least popular during the time they were doing it.
Well, I got a decade on you, and I know every New Year's they would, at least in Chicago, they would still show the original Ocean's 11 because it is a New Year's Eve movie,
like it's Wizard of Oz.
Well, yeah, and it was a great New Year's Eve movie because they would show that. They would show a Marx Brothers movie, at least one, like Duck Soup or something like that. And right now I can't think of what else they would show, but I was riveted. So no, when it hit me in 1982, good Lord, 40 years ago, I'm like, oh, I know what this is, and it was great. I'm still waiting. Go ahead.
When I was younger, realizing like, hey, that's Cesar Romero. I'm like, this is, and then I'm watching it again, thinking like, what? Frank Sinatra thinks he can threaten Cesar Romero, break his neck. Like, look how much he's a huge guy. It's like,
absolutely. Cesar Romero, a bad guy in a lot of Disney movies too.
Oh yeah,
those 70s Disney movies.
Oh yeah,
I met him.
Was he in Flubber or was it the Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes?
I think it's the Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes.
One of those Kurt Russell movies or something.
Flubber was earlier, and it was Keenan Wynn was the bad guy in that one. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Computer Where Dexter Riley, the Kurt Russell.
That's got to be yeah.
Where you could spot Ed Begley Jr. as one of his teenage friends in a lot of those movies. Oh no, those are and Joe Flynn is in them from McHale's Navy. Wow. He's always in those movies. He's like the dean of the college or whatever they're all going to. Hilarious. I love it. I met all right, again, sorry everybody, word balloon broken record. I met Cesar Romero in it was 41 years ago, 1982. We were in LA, me and my stepmother, and we went to a pilot filming, and it was for Ann Jillian. And it was a show that didn't make it. It was called The Rainbow Girl. And she was working in a blue-collar city, but she wanted to be a singer, and she was on a polka show as the Rainbow Girl. And Cesar Romero played the polka band leader. And it was a Fred Silverman who used to run all three networks at one time each.
Yeah.
But he produced the show, and the cast was really nice and went out and talked before they started filming. They talked to the audience. Thank you very much for coming. So I got to talk to Cesar Romero. I wish I had the photo. My stepmother might still have it. I don't know. We're not on good terms. Yeah, we're not on good terms. But I had to tell him, I'm like, well, we're not. But mentioning Batman 66, I'm like, man, when I was 4 years old, you scared the shit out of me. And he's laughing. And I'm like, I literally, if it was one of your episodes, and once I heard your laugh, I had to run away. I could not stay in the room.
Yeah, you're doing the little kid thing of looking at it and just peeking.
Behind the sofa, 100%. And he's like, good, I was supposed to scare you. And he's laughing, clap my back and stuff. And he goes, come on, let's take a picture. Could not have been nicer. I'm like, oh my God. The Joker, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable.
And when he started, he was the Latin lover in movies. That was his whole thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Have you seen any good old movies lately?
Let's see. What have I watched recently? I'm trying to think.
While you're thinking, I did rewatch because I always love it. And it's not a good example of real history, but I love Sunrise at Campobello with Ralph Bellamy and Greer Garson as Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt, and Hume Cronin as God, I can't think of his name, but basically Roosevelt's political mentor and fixer. Louis something. It's not long. It's not an alliteration, but oh my God, such a good movie. And yeah, and Hume Cronin just he's the juice in that movie. Very, very funny. Yeah.
Well, of course, I mean, any week now I'll be, of course, watching Wonderful Life again.
Okay.
The movie I can apparently watch hundreds of times and never get tired of, but luckily my wife likes to watch it too. So, we try to get the kids like, come on, watch this. And it's like, and they don't get it. It's like, no, they used to show this all the time. And it's like, and you start to realize how great it is. Don't get thrown off by the silly angel antics at the beginning of the movie, which is the weakest part of the movie,
Well, he's funny though. I mean, and I love at the beginning.
Well, I
when
mean,
it's
Clarence
shot
is great,
from
but I'm
heaven.
talking about when they're just the little stars.
But that's what I was gonna say. I just love that the galaxies are talking to each other, and all of a sudden the little star, "Hi, how you doing, sir? Sorry." And then,
Yeah.
I love Clarence. Yeah, you went there to save Harry.
Yeah.
That and
Every man on that transport died. You know, it's like
now, and that's what I focus on now. All the different character actors. Why don't you kiss her? You know, the guy on the porch. That's that.
youth
Wait
is
a minute,
wasting
I'll
on the
kiss
young
her.
people. Yeah. Now I just say all of that guy's lines all the time.
Yep.
And now I quote Mr. Potter more than anybody else. Like, what are you but a scurvy young spider? Yeah.
And also, when he's about to, and I don't remember who he was intimidating, Lionel Barrymore, but at one point he tells his assistant, move my chair up, to get in the guy's face. You think I'm going to let you get away with that? And it's like, oh, man, he's so brilliant.
I love the fact that he's got this little skull figure thing that he has on the table, just in case Capra's worried you might not get that this guy is evil, you know?
That's true. That's
also
100%.
Mr. Potter is already old when when Harry and George are kids, you know, so it's like he's eternally old. He never really changes.
He's got to be ancient by the time they're adults. That's true.
And it's really fun to switch from that to Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and see the whole cast, you know, pretty much flipped around, except for the mom, who's still his mom. But you know, everybody else suddenly, you know, Uncle Billy is kind of just a cynical DC hack, you know.
Yes, news reporter. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a hapless drunk. Well, he probably is a drunk, but he's not a hapless drunk. And you know,
I love both of those movies. That's fantastic.
I can watch any Capra. It's so good.
And as I've become more and more of a noir fan, Gloria Graham, who I from being a little kid, I only knew her as Violet Baines, and I didn't know that she was this great noir femme fatale. That in Oklahoma when she's Ado Annie.
She's so good in Oklahoma. With her, I mean, they're pretty outright suggesting she's slept with all of Oklahoma. You know, like it.
She's a girl who can't say no. Come on,
she can't say no. And
the same with Violet Baines. Violet Baines has gotten around Bedford Falls.
Dick.
You know,
Violent Dick.
What's it? What's the last name?
It's Bick.
Oh, excuse me.
I think I think I'm saying
that
right.
I'll take your word for it, bud.
But
I'm still running on John Mulvaney.
And of course, yeah. So I know we always get sucked into this, but it's such a great movie. In a Lonely Place with Bogart, she is so good in that.
Absolutely.
God. Again, we were talking about it on Blue Sky. Somebody was bringing up the Bogart movies, and it was Comics in the Golden Age, and I had to immediately, if someone brings up Bogey, I have to bring up that movie. It's so short but tight, and it's just got so much energy, and it's just it's the best he's ever been in my book. He's genuinely seems unhinged at parts, you know.
Absolutely. My favorite movie that nobody talks about of Bogart's is All Through the Night.
Mm-hmm.
And it was made right before Casablanca. And I always say it's like a big budget Bowery Boys movie, because essentially it's Bogey and his crew against Nazi spies in New York. Yeah. And William Demarest, Uncle Charlie from My Three Sons, is his main wingman. And it's so great because, all right, we're going to go in the warehouse. Sure, we'll go in the warehouse, and maybe we'll get our brains bashed in. And he's just got all these great, like, fatal lines of that we're going to get killed. And he follows Bogeyman, and it's, I mean, and Gleason and Phil Silvers are babies in this movie, and only at the very beginning of the movie. But it's just like, oh my God, look how young they are, because it was 1941 or 42. It was fantastic.
It's so weird to see then Demarest and Fred McMurray, these two icons of noir films, like later they're on this dumb kids show with like Too Many Boys in the House.
Yep.
You know, it's like these guys are in murder movies.
Yeah, and now it's, come on, Steve, I can't get that stain out of the sink. Yeah. Now easy, Charlie. Don't worry about it. Well, that whole thing, you know the whole like shooting schedule for My Three Sons to accommodate. Fred
like
McMurray's movie.
McMurray was very regimented about it. He wanted to do his thing and then get out.
So I get back to my real career of movies.
Yeah, so or he just or golf all day or whatever it is he wanted to do. I think he sold a lot of other stars on TV because he told them like, oh, you can plan your schedule. Like, well, yeah, you're kind of a big shot, Fred. So, it's like, of course you'll go do Disney movies and everything, but he would just do that. And they would have to write the whole season ahead. They couldn't like fart around all summer or whatever. They had to really get it done. So they'd know exactly when to line him up with which kid and shoot the scene.
And all the kids and Demarest, while he was still alive, would say it was the toughest thing in the world because they would do just scenes with Fred McMurray for months and then go back
knowing
and
the story or what.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There we go. Gabe's watching and acknowledges William Demarest, the greatest. Absolutely. Those Eddie Bracken.
That'll summon a Hardman on you. You bring up William Demarest.
That's true. Those Eddie Bracken movies that Demarest is in too. Those Preston Sturges movies. Unbelievable stuff.
Well, all Preston Sturges movies are just wonderful.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So yeah, Jeff, I don't know anything else. So it's Negaduck, right? Not Negaduck with an M. It's
actually Negaduck. Like a negative duck.
Yeah.
Let's see. I feel like I'm missing some. Yeah, there's other stuff that I it's not that I'm like being cagey about. Like I better I might jinx it, so I'm not gonna go ahead and say like,
no, it's cool.
Oh, you're really gonna like this, and then it falls through, and then everybody asks me about it for the next billion years.
Well, as I always say, this is an entertainment show. This is not a hard. And first of all, there is no such thing as hard journalism in comics.
I should do the Lee Marvin thing and just sit here and be an uncooperative guest who says nothing while you Don Rickles at me for like an hour trying to get something out of me.
But right now, everybody, and issue 2 drops tomorrow. This fantastic miniseries of Batman and Santa, Silent Night with a K, and it's all December through DC. Fantastic stuff, man! Hilarious story.
Michelle Bandini, the main artist in the story. Pat Brousseau is doing letters, and Alex Sinclair coloring. Everybody really brought their A game, so go pick it up. It fits conveniently into a stocking if you need something that's, stockings can't be too heavy. They'll fall off the mantle. So a comic book is what you want to put in.
Brilliant. I agree with you. That's fantastic. So, no, thanks, buddy. Well, that'll do it tonight for Word Balloon Live. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It's going to be a great December. We got cool people coming up. And thank you. And Jeff is certainly one of them. But until next time, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.
Happy holidays.